Hey, y'all. Thanks
Hello.
for coming. Wow.
Thank you for coming to my house so that we can discuss power.
Oh, yeah, that's funny, actually, because I didn't think about power at all when I was reading your book. I guess I should have.
No, I didn't even think about it until just I was reminded that the theme of this festival is power. And it's a strong flavor. It's a strong choice.
It's
for
great.
A humanities festival theme. It's like this year will be the theme of the festival will be patriarchy. Like,
Well, that's the thing. If you put a spin on power, it's not patriarchy, which is pretty fucking cool, John.
I'm with you, but I mean, look, just a slight punch up. Maybe empowerment would be a theme that would feel a little less oppressive.
That's really funny because I did a Humanities Festival event last weekend with Madeline Miller, who wrote this book called Circe, which is all about like the Greek witch who turns all of Odysseus's men into pigs from the Odyssey. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of great stuff to talk about power with that. But reading Medallion status, I don't know, man. What do you got?
Well, Medallion status is not about power so much, but it is about privilege for sure.
Well, and I do, it was a fascinating book to read because, so Medallion status is a reference to, airline miles.
Yeah.
And it is very much about airline miles, but it is also about, as you say, privilege and the fact that you have been allowed into a great many, pretty sweet rooms in your life.
Yeah, so, yeah.
And you drop a lot of names, and you
Not that many.
Okay. You drop a fair number of names.
I've gotten a lot of criticism for not naming people, places, and things.
You do also choose not to name some people, places, and things.
Right.
But what I found really impressive is that given the number of people you still did name drop, you didn't come off as an asshole in this book.
It's sort of my art form.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, that's my question is how did you pull that off?
Well, because the book is about privilege, but it is also about truly humiliation and the therapeutic benefits of humiliation. Medallion status is a specific reference to a loyalty program for an airline that I do not name in the book.
Right. Well, you do eventually.
Oh,
right?
That's true. I do. That's right. I forgot.
It's no, you do though.
Yeah. It's Delta.
It's funny because for most of the book, I actually thought it was Virgin Airlines, and I was really surprised that you liked it so much.
I don't. They don't even fly domestically anymore, do they?
I know. I was very confused by the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
So here's the thing. I'm John. We've met before.
We have.
And Medallion status is about, it's funny, first-person stories from my life. Mm-hmm. They're very hilarious.
They are.
Incredibly insightful, sometimes profound, and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
About what it is, about my frankly implausible career as an on-camera performer and a very famous minor television personality, and all of the secret rooms and first-class lounges and exclusive parties that even the most minorest of fame admits you to, and then what it feels like to be kicked out of those rooms slowly, one by one, until you realize you're not on television really anymore, and you're no longer as famous as even the least famous Corgi on Instagram. And how you then start chasing diamond medallion status on Delta to compensate for your loss, for your psychic wound.
In the book, you call yourself a shy narcissist.
A shy narcissist.
Yeah.
Well, I am an only child, and as you know, that means I was never, and not only that, an only child who had no and continues to have no interest in sports, except for the sport of extinct hockey. That's the only one I follow. I only follow hockey teams that don't exist anymore. I like the sport of extinct hockey because all of the outcomes are known. There's no anxiety about what might happen.
Is there something
There's no
also,
ambiguity.
about the fact that like you don't have to go to those games that appeals to you with liking
also that,
right?
yes.
You know, it's like you don't actually have to
Yes.
actively care.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's history. You're studying history.
That's right. And and in the case of hockey, and there are a lot of extinct hockey teams because it's, obviously Chicago's had a hockey team for a long time, but it's hard to get a hockey team going in the United States, and they don't often do well, and then they move from place to place, they get kicked out of their cities and they have to go find. So the hockey is the minorest of the major league sports, and I love an underdog. And extinct hockey, every story of every team is a tragedy.
Do other people call it extinct hockey, or is that a terminology that you came up with to describe
That's a term people basically know me as the father of American extinct hockey. Like, if you go to the Extinct Hockey Hall of Fame in West Hartford, Connecticut, former home of the Hartford Whalers, there's a Hodgman wing, for sure.
There's a wing.
Yeah, there's a Hodgman Research Center and multi-purpose room. It's sort of like our green room that we had here at the Field Museum. That's a little in-joke. You guys didn't see the green room.
It was...
Since I was already mean about the theme of the entire festival, I will not go on then to malign the multi-purpose room that they put us in before.
It was intense.
Here.
It had me wondering
or for
if
that
all
matter,
green rooms are that bad.
The terrifying Resident Evil level, game level that is the backstage of the. Like, I want to take you on a tour of the weird dark spaces with the humming computers.
Really weird.
And there's like, if you leave the stage, there are two doors, both two black doors, one with an arrow on it, one with an X on it, and it feels like a.
It's an arrow and a circle. It's a circle, and then the arrow points to the circle, and then right next to it is a door with the X.
I feel like I'm in the middle of a riddle. Anyway, I'm so happy to be here at the Chicago Humanities Festival. I'm so grateful to be here. I love Chicago, and I'm being very sincere.
Do people really mispronounce your name all the time?
Hodgman?
Hodgman?
Yeah, of course.
Really?
Of course. Especially if you're not a native English speaker or someone who's learned English as a second language, or it happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Not as frequently as many of my oldest friends from elementary school still spelling my name with an E. That Hodgman happens all the time.
Is that a more common spelling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it should be spelled.
What
I understand.
happened?
I understand. I don't care. I don't care anymore. So you open this with shy narcissist. I'm an only child. Never liked sports. Never played sports. Because I was an only child, I believed, as all only children do, that I am the focus of all existence. And all of you are but shades around me, reflecting me in one way or another.
Right.
That's the narcissism part. In case you didn't know.
I picked up on it, but thanks for the clarification.
And the shyness part, obviously I'm not shy, but I am confrontation averse. Because I had no brothers or sisters or siblings to test me, push me around, get into fights with me. And because I did not play any sports, I did not have sort of the ritual of, competition and it being okay at the end, whether you win or lose. So there was nothing to teach me that confrontation of any kind, whether it would be fighting or hugging and kissing. Any heavy interpersonal confrontation I knew growing up was probably fatal. That would be the end of my life.
Okay.
And that's how I got to be the way I am now. And that is how I've come to become such a connoisseur of humiliation. Because when you are on television, it obviously. So I got kidnapped by TV, right? It wasn't ever supposed to happen. I was writing books and humor and magazine stuff, and I went on Jon Stewart's The Daily Show to promote my first book, and it went well, and Jon invited me to be back on the show as a contributor. This is not supposed to happen in my life. It led to all kinds of bizarre opportunities and thrilling jobs. I love jobs. As long as they're not permanent, I'll take any job. The chance to meet all kinds of my heroes and everything else, but it also, what I didn't appreciate, and obviously being even a little bit famous is an unusual experience, especially if you're televisual famous, right? Because people see you and you are like a manifestation of a TV ghost that is like, they get nervous because you're not supposed to be there. They know you from a screen.
You don't exist in real life.
Right, like
Yeah.
why are you here in the Radio Shack? That was when Radio Shacks existed.
Oh,
but, you know,
right, yeah. Rest in peace, Radio Shack.
Yeah, I know. Never forget. Miss you, Radio Shack. I know you're up there with Sky Mall. And you also have the and it is being recognized is this incredible gift.
Yeah, how often are you recognized
Not that much anymore.
these days? Yeah. Like today, has anyone recognized you?
No.
No.
I mean, we've met before, so it was
Yeah.
not unusual.
Yeah.
And other people had been prepared with photos of me. Well, no, wait a minute. It happened in the airport.
I was gonna ask, you were at an airport today.
Yeah, a guy in a sports hat said, "Are you John Hodgman?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was a very nice guy. I surmise he was a nice guy because he knows my work. Therefore, it's one of the good ones. And I feel very guilty that I forgot that happened, because it's not something that I ever took for granted, and certainly don't now, because it isn't as typical. And when people see me and they say it's John Hodgman, that's an incredible gift, because it does mean that they have a connection with something that I've put out in the world.
Right.
And it made that connection, which is wonderful. And being seen and being recognized is not something that most people in the world experience, even within their own families, So, that's, you don't see your, one of the stories I talk about in the book was being recognized in a different way. A lot of it is about me flying back and forth across the country to work on a cable comedy in LA when I lived and left my family behind in New York. And it was hard for my family, and it really wore us all down. My children had grown up to the point where they cared whether I lived or died. They noticed when I was in the room and when I wasn't. And it was sad for them. And I was really feeling down. And then I was checking into another flight across the country. And at the gate, the agent looked at my boarding pass and said, "Oh, hello, Mr. Hodgman. Thank you for being gold." I knew what she was talking about. I didn't realize it, but I'd been accruing all of these what are called Medallion qualifying miles on Delta. So I had made gold medallion level. What I didn't know was that meant when you check in at the gate, a human being says to you, "Thank you for being gold," which was incredible. It was an incredible, it shook me to my core I was surprised at how powerful it was, because the truth is, I thought I was gold. You know what I mean? I thought I was gold all along.
This woman sees it.
Yeah, we all believe or want to believe that we're gold. We're all worried that people aren't seeing our golden specialness. We also worry that maybe we're tricking ourselves. Maybe we're not gold. And maybe someone's going to see us and go, "Get out of here. You're not gold. You're a silver medallion," which is a garbage medallion, by the way. So when someone sees you, either by saying your name or that's why the loyalty reward programs are such sick, addictive video games, because they are selling you on affirmation. And the higher you get and the more privileges and perks you get, the more they treat you like a whole human being, as though that is, which is kind of the biggest luxury good of all.
Right, especially on an airplane these days.
Yeah, especially on an airplane, and yeah.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? But let me read something from the book.
Oh, good. Do you have a copy with you?
No, but this guy does.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Thank you.
I remembered you saying you wanted to read out of it, and then I was like, but he didn't bring a copy.
No,
but
I
this
did. I saw
kind
this
human
guy had one.
Okay, good. And you can hold a mic and a book at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
good.
I'm extremely adept.
What's that?
I don't know. He's got a map to the museum.
Oh, is it the museum? That makes
I
sense.
don't want that.
Oh, is that the ticket?
Oh, yes.
Printed off?
Printed off. This is your
Got a
ticket. Print this
printer.
entire page and bring it with you. This festival is about power.
All right, we got the book open.
Oh, so it is about privilege, and it is about, privilege and privilege comedy, that's my material. It always has been. Look at me. I'm a cis white straight male from Brookline, Massachusetts who went to Yale. This is the world that I've inhabited my whole life. I've now come to understand that the way I move through the world is different than the way other people move through the world. And it's an embarrassing shame that it took me so long to understand.
How long did it take you?
It was like last week I figured it out.
It was last week? That's not true, because I saw you do an event at least a year and a half ago, and I remember you saying something slightly derogatory about the fact that you were a cis straight white male, and I was like, look at John Hodgman, this middle-aged white dude nerd, like stepping up for, like, I thought it was really cool to see you do that. Self-effacing,
I suppose, derogatory.
Yes, fair. Self-effacing.
We get the bodies and the circumstances that we're born with.
Right.
And the thing about medallion status and first-class status on airlines is that, like all privilege, it is mostly unearned, right? People who go into first class on an airplane, usually it's because they've been bumped up because of some credit card deal, or they've been selected randomly or whatever. And when you start that journey in first class, you're very, very excited and happy because you can't believe your incredible good fortune and your luck. You're sitting in a seat that is meant for a human being, for one thing. And you're getting hot towels and then little ramekins of hot nuts, which is gross. But it's something that, I don't know why they're warming up these nuts on this airplane, but it's something that they do. And then by the end of the flight, the only thing you can think about is how nervous you are that you'll never get back into first class. But when people have, like almost all privilege, including fame and including status on airlines, and it's usually a circumstance of uncontrollable fortune, luck, accident. And when you get privilege by accident, it is very hard to resist the human urge to not tell yourself a story that you deserve it. And when you're in first class, even if you get bumped up, like by the middle of the flight, you're like, look at all those dum-dums back in coach. I must have done something right to get here because I'm so smart and amazing. Do you know what I mean? And what we're all wrestling with in culture right now, I think, and talking about finally, maybe it's not that we've always been talking about it, maybe people who look like me are listening now more, right? But is to resist the story that wealth is somehow synonymous with virtue or hard work, right? Or privilege is somehow earned when it's usually not. Anyway, that was that. That's not this part, though.
Yeah, right, this is very different.
The part that I'm going to read to you is about humiliation. And for all of the good kinds of recognition and privileges and perks that come with even the smallest amount of television fame, one thing that happens if you are in a televisual medium is that you learn how people see you in a way that you perhaps are not aware of. You learn what you look like in a way that, because when you look in the mirror, you pick your own angles. But when you see yourself on a screen, you realize, John Hodgman's kind of a big fatso. Wow, I didn't know that about me. And I always thought that I was a pretty good guy, but based on my casting history, the rest of the world sees me as any number of different perverted mustache creeps. weirdos and deviants and con artists, and like I was offered a role in a small crime thriller in which I was to play the villain, and that's fun because playing villains is fun. And I was like, what's this guy doing in this? Well, my character was his job was to keep pregnant women prisoner in his basement and then sell their babies. And I was like, why did you think of me for this?
Yeah, like to be clear, you didn't even have to audition.
I didn't even
for
have
this
to
role.
audition.
They
It
were
was a
like,
straight offer. They're like, you're the only one who can play this role. And apparently it's true because I said no and the movie didn't get made. They're like, well, too bad. We can't make this movie now. And then one time I was offered this role on Mozart of the Jungle, and I wasn't a creep for once. And my character was a weirdo, eccentric, wealthy dilettante, socialite, who is at a party and gives some life advice to the main character, played by Lola Kirk, who is an aspiring classical oboist. And she, like all of us, worries that, maybe she's not gold, maybe she's silver, and has imposter syndrome, and says that she feels like maybe she's a fraud because she only chose the oboe because it looked cool. And my character says, no, you invented yourself, and that is brave. That's not fraudulency. That's something everyone wants to do, and many people don't have the courage to do it. So I was like, this is great. I love this guy. And then I got the script for the next episode, and it was reiterated that Lola Kirk's character was not a fraud, but I certainly was. My character was a con man. I was not any of the things that I claimed to be, and the only reason I was now taking oboe lessons from her was because I wanted to hug and kiss her, and I chose to seduce her by taking a shower in her apartment and then showing up nude in her bed, covered only by an oboe. So, and I was like,
this is all the setup for what he's about to read out of the book, to be clear.
And it was this moment of like, finally, after feeling resentful and angry about being cast as a creep, there was just this acceptance, like, yeah, this is who I am, I guess. Being an actor is being vulnerable to the moment and surrendering, Fame is about getting stuff for free, but acting, I had learned enough to know, is about giving stuff up, including sometimes your clothes. So I'll read just this little thing here from, because they gave me a contract, a rider to my existing acting contract for the show, spelling out all of the conditions of my nudity, and it was called Nude Rider. Set it at the top. And all of the things I will read from the Nude Rider are direct quotes. As my nude scene approached, there were a lot of conversations and paperwork. They presented me with a nude rider to my contract. It specified exactly what parts of my disgusting body and my shame would be revealed. Quote, the nudity required is restricted to rear nudity. No genitalia, pubic hair, or anus, and no other nudity may be photographed. Weirdly, the nude rider was worded as though I had written it myself. It was in the first person. As in, quote, for clarity, there will be the perception of full frontal nudity, but I will be wearing a nudity belt to cover my genitalia with an oboe placed over the top, end quote. This was not a sentence I had ever imagined saying in my life. And if I were not married, it would be my go-to pickup line for the rest of my life. We shot for 2 days in the oboist's apartment before my nude scene. The director of the episode over this time was very kind. He took me aside for long conversations as it approached. He explained that only a few people would be on set for my scene. If there was anyone that I didn't want to be there, they would not be there. There would be a person of my choosing standing by constantly with a thick terry cloth robe to swoop in between takes to cover my body. He explained that everything would be arranged for my emotional comfort. My emotional comfort was an alien concept to me, and especially now. I wanted to say why. I know now what I look like. I know from my mirror at home what my bare body looks like, and I know that the lens will only flatten and fatten both of those things. So don't worry about my emotional comfort being in the nude. This is going to be traumatic for everyone. The nude rider specified that I would be provided a nudity belt. The evening before my scene, I was offered a selection of Caucasian flesh-colored privacy garments to cover my various areas. I was told no one had ever used them before, which was reassuring. Some of the privacy garments were more elaborate than others. One involved an array of clear rubber bands delicately linking two tan spandex panels. One was essentially just a Caucasian sock. I tried these on in my trailer, but they were all ridiculous. First, because even the, quote, Caucasian flesh color of these appliances was 1,000 times more bronzed and healthy seeming than my bluish, skim milky pallor. And second, I knew now they were unnecessary. Let's not use any of these dumb underwears, I suggested to the director. Why don't I just be all the way naked? And forget about leaving people off the set. Invite everyone in. Let the whole world see me as the white male nude monster that I am. The director said, no thank you. So on the day of my nude scene, I removed all my clothes and I put on the sock. It was the last setup of the evening, the martini shot, and it was late at night when I was told it was time. I turned off my phone, I shook off my nerves and my robe, I climbed onto the young woman's bed and arranged my oboe and my smile. My smile was genuine. I was ready for my close-up. And that is how I am waiting for you too now, reader. I have nothing to hide from you. The book is called Medallion Status. We have to do a little bit of housekeeping here. The book is for sale outside. Some of you already got your copies. I'm happy to personalize those. Any of you who wants to buy a copy, you can do so. I'm happy to sit outside and personalize it. There is obviously a loyalty reward program in effect for the signing line. Anyone who has bought a copy will get a status medallion. It is a lapel pin that says famous Corgi on it. It has a picture of a Corgi, because there's a whole chapter about famous Corgis of Instagram in here. Mm-hmm. Linus the Corgi and Chompers the Corgi specifically. If you pre-ordered a book and buy another one, or you have an electronic edition or an audio book, which I know you enjoy, anyone who has 2 copies of the book in the signing line for whatever reason in any format gets upgraded to double Corgi status.
Nice.
Separate pin, yep. And then anyone who purchases or has 3 or more in the signing line, triple Corgi Elite. Yes. But the biggest upgrade has already been claimed. Who is the person who bought the 7 copies? Oh, what is your name? Leia bought 7 copies today, and she has been upgraded to the most comfortable seat next to me in the signing line, and you will see her in the signing line.
Oh, wow.
So.
That's amazing.
And then the other piece of housekeeping before we continue our sparkling, completely natural conversation, and I apologize for this, but there will be a question and answer session, and there are going to be microphones.
Oh, yeah. And we're actually going to get to that pretty soon.
Right, and I only say that because the question and answer sessions work really well when there are questions. And usually people are very shy initially. It takes a little while to break the ice. It's usually like, I say, now it's time for Q&A, and there's like dead silence until 1 or 2 white dudes come up and say, I have a thought for you, and then it gets going. But I would rather that you think it over, and you can ask any question on any subject relating to me or Greta, whatever. It doesn't,
Okay.
It doesn't have to be related to the book. And as Harry Snyder taught me when I was in one of my many jobs, when I was scraping paint off a house, there are no stupid questions. There are only fuck-ups. So.
And what does Bob Ross say? There are no mistakes, just happy accidents.
Happy accidents, but I like mine better.
Okay, so before we get to audience Q&A, we do have to discuss Corgis.
Yes.
Because I love Corgis very much.
I know. And I'm frustrated because you have a corgi
I do.
in your life named
Her name is Scout.
Scout the corgi, and I
Yeah.
want nothing more than Scout to be here right now.
Yeah.
Because then people would take our picture and put it on Instagram. But there is a no cute dog policy here at the Field Museum.
I don't know if that's the precise policy, but they were pretty clear
You
that
could
I
not
could
bring-
not
you could
bring
not bring
Scout.
Scout.
Which is honestly for the best because Scout is terrified of most people.
Yeah.
So
Corgis
this would
are-
not be ideal for her.
Corgis have a lot of personality.
They do.
Here, sir, I forgot. Yeah, he wants his
Oh,
ticket
yes,
for his scrapbooking.
of course. I'm sorry. Here you go.
And don't forget your map. Yeah,
The map is important too.
those are the exits over there, and then you're on
So-
your own after that.
So how long have you been on book tour now? You've been doing the thing
on and
for
off. You know, the book
couple
came out
weeks?
October 15th. and
Okay.
This is whatever date it is now.
November now.
Yeah.
So at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, on and off, on the road again, on and off the road.
And at how many events have you had corgis? Because I keep seeing pictures of you on Instagram
Yeah.
with like multiple corgis in your lap.
It all started because I was at a exclusive party at the San Francisco Sketch Fest. Adam Savage, you know, the Mythbuster,
Yeah.
has a party every year at Sketch Fest, which is a great comedy festival in San Francisco. It's invitation only. It's at his secret workshop where he makes movie props, like perfect replicas of science fiction movie props. So like the Tom Skerritt's spacesuit from Alien, and he's got a Han Solo frozen in carbonite.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a full-size Admiral Akbar dressed up as Russell Crowe from Master and Commander. It's an incredible mashup of Admiralty. You can see a picture of that on the back of the book. And I was so, as both a nerdo and a performing person, I felt excited to be invited to this exclusive party. And I'm having a great time sitting there in this perfect replica of Captain Kirk's chair from Star Trek TOS. And I'm pressing the buttons, and it's making all the beeps and the boops, just like it's so specific. And I look across the room, and I see two people I do not know. And I know everyone at this party. And they have these two corgis, and
aren't they like holding the
they're
corgis?
holding the corgis.
Which is kind of an awkward hold. I don't know if you've ever tried to hold a corgi.
They're very dense animals.
And they're so long,
yeah,
you know.
long and dense.
Yeah, you have to hold them by both ends.
But corgis are delightful, as you know.
Absolutely.
Because they're these interesting mutant dogs, and they always
Wait a
have.
second.
They always have a really funny like smile on their face. They're always so good-natured, even though someone chopped their legs off. And everyone's going over to see the corgis, and that's bothering me, right? Because A, I want the attention. B,
Yeah.
I don't know who these people are. And I turn to Kevin Murphy and I say, hey, they're not comedians. Who invited them to this exclusive party? And Kevin told me, oh, they were not invited. The corgis were. Turns out that Linus the Corgi and Chompers the Corgi, two famous corgis of Instagram, one of the comedians is a huge fan of theirs and got them an invitation
so the
to this exclusive
people
party.
were just like corgi chaperones.
They were the handlers. They were the body men and women for these corgis. And that's when I realized I don't know what entertainment is anymore. So rather than beat them, I joined them. I put Linus and Chompers on the cover of the book because I want that thing to sell, because people love them. And when I went to do my event with San Francisco, they were like, who would you like to moderate your conversation? I'm like, just get me Linus and Chompers if they're available.
Did they come?
They came, and they were fantastic.
Oh, that's
they were
amazing.
great.
And they moderated.
Well, you know, they were good dogs. They were good dogs. They did the best they could.
That's very sweet.
And then in Brookline, Parsnip the Corgi came.
Oh, Parsnip is
and
a
then,
really good corgi.
Yeah, and then in New York, I don't know if you guys, this is a real get for me. Maxine the Fluffy Corgi.
Oh, Maxine.
Like, people, when Maxine came out, so opening event of my book tour, I'm at Symphony Space, Upper West Side, New York City, in conversation with Elizabeth Gilbert, my old friend, a very big celebrity.
Yeah.
I'm there too. Everything's going great. I'm like, oh, by the way, here's a funny gag. I brought a corgi, Maxine. It's like the dog walked out on stage, and it was instant standing ovation. Everyone stood up. immediately, like, the electricity in the room when Maxine came out was, it was just like, you know, you know when someone's a star. Do you know what I mean? And Maxine, and it's just like suddenly pictures are like, pictures are going off. And like people, I looked on, you know, social media afterward, and people were like, I can't believe Maxine was there. Like, she legitimately has fans.
She stole the show.
And I talked to her person, and I'm like, when did this start happening? He's like, I just started putting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And now she is a manager.
That's insane.
I know. She has 250,000 Instagram
That's
followers.
nuts. Scout is also on Instagram, but she doesn't have that many followers.
Well, we're going to boost that right now. Everyone get out your phones.
Oh, yes.
What is Scout's account?
Anxious Corgi, obviously.
Anxious Corgi, come on. That's a winning handle.
Thank you. We'll get there eventually. I don't know that
Anxious-
she needs a manager because she's terrified of everything anyway. It is funny walking around Ukrainian Village with her, though, because, like, people will stop all the time. Like, I cannot take her on a walk around the block without someone being like, oh, my God, this dog.
I know. There's something very
Corgis,
special
you
about
know?
these weird dogs.
Now we're just watching John look at pictures of my dog on Instagram.
I mean, if you guys were smart, you'd be doing it, too. This is a good... This is a good-looking. Oh, I
She's
love
pretty.
Scout.
Those ears, man. She has like her ears are actually longer than her feet.
I know.
Or her legs.
Oh, little gremlin ears.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a cat here too.
There's a cat.
Who's the cat?
The cat is named Seth, and he's a monster. He's very aggressive.
Is that also your cat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But Seth doesn't have an Instagram account?
No.
Well, I'm not surprised he's mad.
No,
He knows.
pretty horrible.
He knows.
He does know. That's a very good point. What is the best corgi name that you've come across in your time as a corgi connoisseur?
I'm going to say Scout.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
We're all friends here. So the secret stuff, right? So I can tell you I like Linus better than Chompers.
Oh, wow.
And again, Linus is Chompers' nephew, I found out.
But is that partly the underdog thing that you like, Linus?
Literal
better than
underdog.
Chompers?
Like, Linus is not as famous.
Right.
Chompers is the star. Linus is sort of like star adjacent. I
Yeah.
see myself in him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's on the ride,
Yeah.
but he's not
He's not
the driver.
driving the car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious.
And I don't know what to say. I'll tell you guys, Chompers is great, but he yaps, barks.
Oh, yeah. Scout is
Linus-
silent.
Well, yeah. This is fun, right?
Okay, so we'll get to audience questions in one moment, but first I do want to say that I once met a corgi named Pepperoni. And she went by Roni for short, and it was adorable.
Roni.
Roni.
Roni for short is a great Instagram handle,
That's true.
right? Look.
You're just always thinking about.
This is maybe my new job. Maybe I should be a brand consultant for dogs and cats.
So is that the plan? That's like the next step in your career,
This is
you
not
think?
some may know, some may not. This is a new project that I've been doing. I actually have launched my own Instagram talk show. It's on Instagram Live whenever I feel like doing it, usually in the middle of the day. The show is called Get Your Pets, and people ask to join my live Instagram feed, and when I accept them at random, they pop up on the feed. So everyone who's watching can see them and me, and I tell them to get their pets.
Wow.
And then I interview their cats and dogs. And it's maybe the most important work I've ever done.
Well then.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I'm meeting so many incredible animals.
Have you gotten any funding for that one yet?
I have not figured out how to monetize Get Your Pets yet. But
Okay.
I feel like this is an inflection point in my life because this book is done. In many ways, it is the counterpart of my other book of essays, Vacation Land, now available in paperback. I'm not on television that much anymore, but that's okay. Neither is television. I have some projects going. Obviously, Judge John Hodgman continues, and that is,
Obviously.
something I enjoy tremendously. But I don't have an idea for another book, and the books were always sort of the most personal and substantive core work that I would do. Now I would say Judge John Hodgman is that, but like not having another book or a project or knowing what my next job is if you read the book, and there's an arrangement. If you buy the book, you don't have to read it. But if you do,
You should, 'cause it's legitimately
accidentally
great.
read it, a lot of it is about how much I love jobs and different kinds of jobs and never doing one kind of job at a time. And not knowing what my next job is a little unnerving to me. And I do have the feeling, Greta, that if I fully committed to Get Your Pets, and I did this every afternoon from like 3 to 4, 5 days a
Prime
week.
time, man.
Or I would have to do some A/B testing, figuring out when the right time was.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
got to say, I've done it on weekends and I've done it on weekdays, and weekend pet people are different from weekday pet people.
I'm sure they are.
People who are home with their pets in the middle of the workday.
3 p.m. on a Tuesday.
I nothing against the weekend pet people, but the weekday pet people, they have made some interesting choices in their lives.
I bet.
Like they're entrepreneurs, they're at home. Grumpy Dog Designs, a woman named Kendall in Brookline, her dog is named Abby. She does custom embroidered portraits of other people's pets.
Yes.
It's incredible.
That sounds great. I would like her Instagram handle,
Yeah, I have
please.
Grumpy Dog Designs. I've met a guy, I can't remember, I think his cat's name was Scott or something. I love all pets that have just plain human names. Like a cat named Scott is the greatest thing in the world.
That's pretty good.
But his cat was like, some of the pets are amazing, but sometimes the people are more amazing than the pets.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's good.
I'm like, what do you do all day long? And he's like, well, I work here as a caretaker for this billionaire's estate in remote Washington state. And I'm like, I presume you do not want to say who you work for. He's like, that is true. And there are things that I cannot show you. And I said, well, that's a really cool, interesting job. Are you there alone a lot? He says, yeah. And I go, how many times a year do you watch The Shining? And he said, I've never seen it. And I said, don't.
Yeah, it's for the best. All right, Get Your Pets. Should we take some questions? Y'all got questions for
Yeah.
John?
We can do that. We got microphones.
There's
so
a microphone there.
Good.
Try to keep your questions really
Yeah.
brief, and we'll try to get to as many as we can.
You don't,
Yeah.
excuse me. Keep your questions long.
Oh, no, John, don't say that.
I'll keep it moving, don't worry. Is there anyone else running around with a microphone, or is it just you?
I think there is.
Just us two.
Oh, you're there too, okay.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So if you want to
You want a
line
line,
up,
don't you?
I don't want a line, I want people to raise their hands.
Do you want me to line up?
Is this being
Oh.
recorded?
Yes.
This is being recorded, so you need to speak into the microphone. So if you would like to, why don't you come to this aisle? You two
Okay.
come down here, and you, sir, stand there.
Okay.
And
Great.
then
We have a system.
people who would like to ask questions, come and stand up
Come on
and
down.
line up.
Come on.
And
Come
if you
on.
have any mobility issues or whatever, just raise your hand and we'll get to you. Okay, well,
Nice.
here we are.
You're holding your own microphone.
I know, I
That's
sort of
impressive.
Did you come with that
BYO
microphone?
microphone?
I sort of took it over.
Hi, what is your name?
Catherine.
Okay, get closer to the microphone. 'Cause
Catherine?
we're recording
There
this.
you go.
Hi,
Pretend
Catherine,
like
how
it's
are
ice
you?
cream.
Okay, I have a question, and you're in Chicago. Have you had any Malort while you're here?
It's interesting. This is maybe the first event that I've done in Chicago in 10 years
Malort soda?
where I did not come out and find 3 bottles of Malort at the bottom of the stage that people had brought for me, thinking that I wanted that. And I guess I kind of miss it, but, life is full of transitions. I don't know if I'm going to have any Malort. I don't know if you can bring Malort to a museum.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
Not
that.
sure.
You can hand the microphone to the person, but is that the
let's
totality of your question,
We're going to
Catherine?
switch off from side to side, so now we're over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I got you, but I just want, Catherine, was that your only question?
For the most part, yeah.
Well, no, go, follow up.
Well, you describe it as pencil shavings and heartbreak as the taste.
Yes, that's the taste of Malort. That's right.
So I
As
had
opposed to Fernet Branco, which is pine cones soaked in grave dirt.
For those of you who are unclear on John Hodgman's love of Malort, we actually did interview him on Nerdette a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
And we did like a tasting and all moaned about how terrible it is together. So.
Well, yeah, but
find
now
that.
there are all these there are all these boutique malorts coming out.
Right. Oh, yes.
Because everyone thinks it's a joke.
Right.
And they want to get in on the joke.
Right.
But I'm a Jepson's person all the way.
Of course.
Thank you, Kathy. Sure. That's maybe the one applause break. It's weird. Yes. What is your question?
Hi.
And what is your name?
My name's Laura.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Great.
Great.
I have 2 daughters, 6 and 9, and we listen to your podcast on road trips.
Thank you.
And they are big fans. And so I was just wondering what advice you have for young, aspiring, imaginary judges.
Young, aspiring, imaginary judges?
Yes.
Well, I would suggest a different career because the marketplace is already dominated by one brand. I mean, the thing that I learned from Judge John Hodgman, and it's like, we know this, right? But it's like, even the smallest disputes have meaningful underpinnings. And it's important to figure out what's really going on. You know, what are we really fighting about, you know? And so I'm very grateful. You know, I did swear in this room. Now I see there are children, now the lights are up, and I apologize
Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that.
for my salty language. But like, we don't swear on the show, not because, I mean, it's called a family-friendly show. We do want families to be able to listen to it together because it's nicer than, you know, there are a lot of explicit podcasts and stuff like that. We don't want it to be kid-friendly. Do you know what I mean? Like, if anything, I want kids to be challenged a little bit with some concepts that are above their pay grade. So I'm very gratified that you're listening to it with your daughters. I don't know what advice I can give you.
They've learned a lot about judgment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, don't be judgmental unless you know you're right.
Speaking of power, I feel like that's a good one on the theme, right?
Yeah. Hi. What's your name?
I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex. What is your question?
Do plants count as pets?
Do plants count as pets? No.
Thank you.
Plants are great.
I mean, at least as far as the Get Your Pets project is concerned. I have had some people try to sneak onto the feed with stuffed animals.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, this is my pet, and I'm like, hang up.
Wow.
I hang up on them. Some try to sneak in without a pet at all, and they're like, oh, I didn't know, I just wanted, but it's always guys. Gotta try to trick the system. This guy's trying to get in with plants now. What is your plant and what is its name?
Basil named Basil. That's
A basil
pretty good.
plant named Basil.
I mean, a basil plant is a great plant to have around, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you, Greta, maybe we could franchise it. You could do Plant Your Plants or something like that, where you interview
Where I interview the plants,
plant owners.
plant people.
Hi, what is your name and what is your question?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I have a question about jobs. You said you're interested in jobs.
Yeah, no, I work to live.
Okay, great. Me too. So I just started a new full-time job last week and still figuring things out. Don't really know what's going on. So I was wondering if you had any advice for going into this new adventure that I'm about to have.
I don't at all have any advice because I had a full-time job for 7 years right out of college, and I took a job at a literary agency. I wanted to make and write stuff, but I was afraid to do it. So I took a job that was sort of literary creative adjacent, and it was terrible. It was a wonderful, wonderful job, wonderful people, a beautiful building, lots of dark corners so I could sneak away and take naps. It was great. But having had many, many, many different kinds of jobs, some of which were very hard, the hard jobs are never the worst jobs. The worst job is the one that you know isn't right for you, but you're afraid to quit it. So I applaud you for making this transition to this new job, right? Because that wasn't easy, I suppose, and you're going through this anxious period. And what I think, and I'm anxious too, for you, because this is a full-time job. May I inquire as to the nature of the job?
Yes, it is. I'm doing like government relations for like a corporation. So it's a big corporate working for the man job.
Sounds like you're really excited about it.
It's a job.
It's not Facebook, is it?
No, it's not.
Oh, phew.
I have some
I mean,
principles.
I'm anxious because, what did you say?
I have some principles.
Yeah, no. I mean, as long as long as you're happy, that's great. But I'm anxious because, like, I'm thinking about, like, oh, she's starting a job, and that job may last 10, 15 years. Like, most jobs are defined by them not ending. The jobs that I've had for the past 19 years are defined by their ending. And that's what I love about them, because then it gives me an opportunity to try something else. So, but what I would say in all of those trying something else's that I've done is, don't be scared. You're in a new office. What's the thing that's concerning about it to you?
I did a full-time job right after graduating college, and I hated it, so I went back to school because I didn't know what else to do. And then I just graduated grad school and was like, well,
Good job.
Got to get back into the job world. So I'm scared I'm gonna hate it again. Scared it's gonna be the same cycle.
That could be.
I mean, you could get a PhD.
I mean, look, everyone's got to work. You know what I mean? And I hope that your job offers you fulfillment and benefits and a good work environment and decent snacks and all those things. I hope you make some good work friends and everything else. But if I may be blunt, I mean, you got a job to get a job, and maybe you're still finding out what you really want to be doing, which is fine because you're a very, very young person. So don't invest too much in it. How about that? Do you know what I mean? Like, and feel it out, see how it works for you, but it's got to work for you more than you got to work for it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think
yeah.
you get to pick like how much of the pie it takes up, right? Like in terms of like the hours of your day. Like obviously you need to put in your time, but like you get to choose how much of your actual life you're devoting to it.
Yeah, see how it feels, and if it's great, then great, and if it's not great, then sorry to swear, kids, but F it,
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck with the government relations for major corporations. Sounds like a good topic for a humanities festival about power. Shark shirt, if I may call you that. Cool shirt. What is your name?
Thank you. My name is Marina.
Marina?
Yes.
And-
It is appropriate for the shark. I didn't realize that. My question is, you have a favorite airline? Do you have a least favorite airline?
Do I have a least favorite? Yeah, everyone's least favorite airline, United. It's terrible. Terrible. So one time a guy came into the signing line and threw down his United Million Miles card.
Whoa.
Like as though we were the same. As though I would appreciate that. And I was just like, this just makes me feel sad for you. It's random that I got locked into the Delta ecosystem.
Right.
I didn't choose those flights that got chosen for me by the production. That's how I got to my Medallion status. Do you know what I mean? But it could have been United, and then what? And then I'd be stuck. Hi. What is your name?
Hello.
What is your question?
My name is Michael.
Hi, Michael.
I just had a question about Jeffrey the robotic giraffe.
Jeffrey the robotic giraffe, which was one of the very early Judge John Hodgman episodes.
I always thought it was your most elegant judicial opinion.
Wow, it's 9 years old as an episode. I guess I peaked early.
It just was a beautiful solution to their problem.
No, I get it. It's been downhill since then.
So I was just curious if there
This
was
is a Judge John Hodgman case in which two women who had gone to college together, I believe, and had been roommates for a long time together, and had bought together a toy plastic robotic giraffe that they named Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm.
And now one of them was moving across the country, and the question was, who gets custody of Jeffrey?
Did you say cut it in half?
Yeah, I said smash that thing. It's a toy. Put aside childish things. No, I think I just told them to share custody, right? Mail it back and forth, and
You
that would
said
be
that as time went on, the relationship would wane, and to keep their relationship alive, they should mail it back and forth to one another.
Yeah, that was pretty
every
elegant
year.
of me. You're right.
It was a great decision. I was just wondering if there was you ever had an update for it. I think about that.
It's very funny because you're like the third person. Have you emailed me about this?
No.
So you are the third person in the past 3 months who has asked for an update on
Really?
Jeffrey. So we're working on it.
Good.
Yeah. I think we did one update some time ago, but we need a new one. I hope it's a happy update. Lives change. Yes, hello. What is your name and what is your question?
Hi, John. My name is Patrick.
Hi,
My
Patrick.
question is, on the very last episode of Deadspin's Deadcast, one of the hosts mentioned your name as the replacement for Alex Trebek on Jeopardy. Why would you make a great host for the classic syndicated TV game show?
Wow. I really like that Patrick walked
Patrick's
away.
just like, yeah.
Like, he's like, you should have dropped the mic, man.
I know. I kind of. That's flattering that the Dead Spinners mentioned that. It's not something anyone's talking about.
Had you heard about it before this moment in time?
No, but since Alex Trebek was diagnosed with cancer, everyone's enjoyed dancing on his grave and thinking about who's going to. And speculating as to who the next
yes.
Jeopardy person would be, and every now and then a flattering suggestion is made that it be me, and it will not be me, so it's totally hypothetical. I mean, there is no interest in that. That is if it were offered to me, that is a job, and I've said this before, like I've never wanted to host a television show, because hosting a television show, as I know from Jon Stewart's experience, and others, is an all-consuming one job. You can't have any other jobs. It is also a hugely managerial job, although I don't know how much, anyway. And its success is defined by its never ending, and I like jobs to end. So, but that would be a pretty hot job. You know what I mean? Like, that would be good. If they were going to film it in New York, and they really wanted to do it, and I could probably do that. But then I also feel as though it's really good that I'm not in the mix, because they could use someone who looks different than Alex Trebek in that role. There are a lot of really talented, smart people who don't sometimes have mustaches and are white men. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and also, man, oh man, I would be really stepping over Ken Jennings on that one. Like, if they were going to hire a white dude to do it, how could it not be Ken? He's great. So, no thank you. What if you were secretly from the Jeopardy organization? Hey, John Hodgman's in town. Let's send in one of our Chicago spies. Hello.
Hi,
What is your name and what is your question?
I'm Emily.
Hi, Emily.
My question is sort of about Vacationland.
Yeah.
In it, you mentioned, your mom's baller move of, securing a house on like a street she liked.
Oh, yeah.
Just Zillow stalking in general. And
Yeah.
since you're
I forgot I put that in Vacationland. Emily's referring to the fact that, my mom, when we moved in high school, she decided there was a street in Brookline, Massachusetts that she liked. All the houses were kind of the same. There were these row houses. And she wrote a personal letter to everyone on the block, and just saying, if you ever consider selling your house, please call me. And she just went there and threw them through the mail slots, and someone called her. And it was great.
Yeah, your mom's dope.
Yes, I agree with you.
But
I agree with you, because what I learned from that is, and this is sort of like I say in the book, like I chose a lot of my jobs. I did a lot of jobs when I was in high school and then college or whatever. Like, it was always really important to me that I liked the building where the job was, because I knew I was going to be walking up to it every day. And I would choose a job because it was in a pretty building. I didn't care what the work was. And I learned that from my mom to a certain degree, because she had a very specific idea of what would make her happy, and she wasn't going to settle for anything other than that. She would just wait until one of those houses sold. And that, like, being in tune with your happiness, whatever it is very hard to do, and it's important that we do it, because if you don't get in tune with your happiness, you might just take a job working for a big corporation and government, and then have an existential crisis in the middle of a Sunday afternoon in a museum.
This is really making me feel conflicted about working for a radio station that happens to be located on Bayview Pier, I gotta say.
I don't know, whatever. If you're happy, you're happy. So anyway, was that your question? No.
Okay, so I hate to say it, but we can only take 2 more questions after this
Well,
one.
we'll do lightning round. It'll be
Okay,
fast.
okay, okay.
After Emily, you go.
My question wasn't too long. So just being raised by such a hella cool mom and being a fancy boy yourself, I was just wondering if
Accepted.
Cool. If there was a certain architectural like style that would, prompt you to go and just chuck stuff through mail slots, or
Architectural style that I would.
like, are you a Cape Cod dude? What with the Maine, or
I don't know. Edward Gorey House. I mean, that's really the answer.
spooky?
Yeah, spooky. Okay, we're gonna be fast. It's me who's making it long, Greta, not them. They're asking good questions.
Okay,
It's all gonna be quick now.
Okay.
Hi.
Name and question.
My name's Peter.
Peter.
I am a dad of 2 young children, and I'm trying to impart the value of hard work and understanding money. My oldest son is 6 years old. He has recently racked up a debt of $30 buying episodes on Amazon, and I'm trying to hold that over his head to get him to clean up around the house, do dishes, laundry.
He's 6 years old.
He does a pretty good job with the laundry.
I'm glad to hear that.
So I'm wondering...
But I don't think you necessarily need to be getting into this guilt and punishment cycle, because
okay, well, that's the
you
answer.
made the mistake of leaving your password plugged in on Amazon.
We have this lesson we've just imparted on him. So do you think this is a bad idea?
I think that are you co-parenting with someone?
Yeah, my wife is not as thrilled about this idea.
Yeah. I feel that it feels a little heavy, and I don't think a 6-year-old needs to learn about money, but I think learning about work is great, having expectations to help her out around the house.
Yeah.
But having this sort of like, well, you racked up like having credit card debt, as someone who has been through it, and many people are through it, it's a terrible feeling. It really makes you feel a lot of shame. And I don't think that you want him to be having even metaphoric credit card debt at the age of 6. So that's my advice.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
Hi, I'm Lindy, and I just wanted to ask about the quote on the back of the book that says, you've established yourself as a memoirist and unquestionably a master prose stylist of rare power and restraint.
Good point.
Ayo.
And your question?
What are your thoughts about this?
It was written by Michael Chabon, and that was an incredible thing to receive an email from him that said that.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, thank you. But I did not choose that word.
Hi, John Hodgman. I'm Mike.
Hi,
Double Corgi status.
Thank you.
That means you have 2
Thank you for
corgis,
being
right?
double corgi.
Something like that. Oh, thank you. But I, like many people here, I'm a fan of your Internet Court podcast, Judge John Hodgman. And like my colleague, other Michael, one of the parts of the show I enjoy the most is the end when you render after disappearing into your chambers through the magic of internet radio, you render very salient, articulate judgments.
We all know I'm great. Let's get to the question.
To what extent are those comments at the end of your episodes prepared?
Extemporaneous?
Yeah.
100% extemporaneous.
Very good.
I do not pre-write any of it.
Is it edited? Or is it live
maybe,
to
I don't
tape?
listen to it.
So yeah, that means they're taking it out by at least 30%.
Every now and then, as I'm talking, very rarely, I might say, oh, you know what, let's save this and put it at the top. Well, I'll say to the editor,
Yeah.
to the producer who's listening. But no, it's just me. Obviously I can talk, so. But thank you, I'm glad it seems as though it's premeditated to you, but it's not. I'm pretty good on my feet. Hello, child.
Hi.
Thank you for your patience.
Hey. Hi, my name is Twyla.
Hi, Twyla.
My question was, what do you think was the most interesting part of your book that you found interesting?
The most interesting part of the thing that interested me the most. I like the chapter about jobs. You know, I hadn't thought about a lot of those jobs that I had when I was a teenager and in high school and college, and then after that, and I had forgotten how many jobs I had, and how very early on, as soon as I could take a job, I wanted to work, because as an only child, that was my opportunity to pretend that I was a grown-up. And I soon learned that, you know, a job is like travel to a different country. You get to learn a new culture, and you get to meet different people and see how different people do their jobs. So I really found that to be great. And as you may know, that chapter was specifically written for children who might not be thinking about their careers yet and should really get going on that. So thank you for asking that question.
Thanks, Twyla.
Thanks, Twyla.
Hi, John.
I was rude to Mike, but you've got things. Is this one that we can handle in the signing line?
I'm Great Rachel from Snicker Due Diligence.
Oh, hi, Snicker Due Diligence.
And this is Doug, and we each brought our cookies for you to taste later and judge on. That's the question. Which is better?
You stay there for a second, because this is the show ender. And we'll just hit these questions real fast, and then I'll explain what's going on here.
Hi, John.
Hi.
I'm Jonathan.
Jonathan, how are you?
I'm a traffic engineer. I was wondering if you wanted to know why we take traffic counts?
Why you what?
Why we go out and count cars?
Oh, yeah. I was a traffic counter. I forgot about that in college. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually done the same thing when they're a little engineer. They throw you out there to count cars all day.
And why? And I never knew why it was done. Why I would count these cars that were turning right, turning left, going straight on a little clicker in 3 different shifts during college, and I would turn in my stats to a woman that I would meet in a different cafe every time, and it was very mysterious. And I said, why am I doing this? She said, I don't know.
Well, anyway, those specifically
is the answer fast?
Timing traffic lights.
Timing traffic lights. Thank you
That is a fast
for
answer.
erasing mystery in my life.
Yeah, it's just to figure out how long the greens and reds and yellows are.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for being a traffic engineer. That seems like a fun puzzle to solve.
It is.
Yeah, cool. And now this person, and then we'll get to the cookies.
Hello. Hi, John. My name is Lily, and nostalgia is something you've mentioned on your podcast multiple times.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could explain more why you don't like it.
So nostalgia is something that you should not experience because you're very young. It is a pining for the past and a romanticization of the past. And specifically, you know, the kind of nostalgia I'm talking about is not merely like liking older things or comic books from your youth. I read a lot of comic books at night. Like, I love smelling those comic books. It is not the best use of my time. I should be reading new things. But sometimes nostalgia can be very comforting. But nostalgia as a social movement is very dangerous. It is the idea that it is a twin fallacy. The past, first of all, is better than now, which is universally untrue. Now is not so great, but that doesn't mean that the past was necessarily better. Certainly not for everybody. And 2, that there's time travel and we can go back in the past. Time moves in one direction. And nostalgia, in that sense, is the baseline of most extremist social movements in the United States, including Making America Great Again. So I don't like it. So, but you don't need to worry about it.
Thank you.
Okay, Greta.
Yeah, what's about to happen?
Here's the deal. Come up on stage, really quickly, and say your names again because I'm not as smart as I seem. I'm Doug. Doug.
Rachel.
Rachel. These were the litigants in a case called Snicker Due Diligence, and
Is
Rachel.
this based here?
What's that? Oh, yeah, right. So Rachel started making cookies from what was it, Good Housekeeping?
Better Homes and
Better Homes and Garden. And it was a Christmas cookie. And then Doug and his brothers tasted it and said, these taste like Grandma Hebig's cookies. And from then on, Rachel was immediately erased, and the cookies were known as Grandma Hebig's cookies.
It literally says that on this box.
Right, and so...
Well, this is an adaptation, which was the judgment.
Right, and my order was, first of all, to give you credit, to find out who wrote the Better Homes and Gardens recipe if you could. Doesn't look like you did.
I was not able
No.
to. I inquired.
But to make a small modification so that these cookies could be yours and only yours.
He had to make them.
I don't even remember. Anyway, now I have two different kinds of cookies, and even though you all know I don't have a sweet tooth, I have an alcohol molar, I will do a blind taste test, and I'll tell you which one is the better cookie. Put one in my hand.
Wow.
That's a hefty cookie. Honestly, when you described these molassesy cookies, I pictured something thinner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You want to have
Sure.
a bite? Oops.
Ooh, crumbly.
A little crumbly.
Good crumb. How are they?
Any of you have misophonia?
Oh, that's
Okay.
lovely.
No. It's a very cakey cookie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's cookie A. A/B test. All right.
I saw the box, so I know which one
Yeah.
it is.
Well, it's, only justice is blind.
It's a similar thickness.
Very similar indeed.
Ooh, the aftertaste of that ginger is pretty good. Let me have
So
some
you
of
got
that.
your own?
No, you
Okay.
gave me, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I felt this
You're
one up pretty
sharing,
good.
John. Oh, I might like this one better, actually. It's less dense. It's a little sugarier. Maybe more butter.
Yeah, this one
do you
is
think
more shortbready. There's more butteriness to it. This is the B. I'm going to go with B. Who's B?
It's got more.
Yeah! All right. That's all we have time for because I'm sure we're over time. Thank you so
We're way
much
over time. Thank you all for
to
hanging out.
Greta. Thank you guys. Come see me at the signing line.